Sharks are some of the most mysterious predators in nature, silently ruling the deep and controlling the oceans with grace and precision. Their sleek bodies, built for swift pursuit and survival, highlight the wonders of evolution. Some species, older than dinosaurs, showcase this evolutionary marvel. The diversity of sharks, from the elusive goblin shark to the majestic great white, reflects the ocean's boundless creativity. However, behind their sharp teeth lies a misunderstood truth. They are vital to marine ecosystems, maintaining balance in life beneath the waves. Here are 6 stories. The sun was shining brightly on a warm June afternoon in 2023 over the turquoise waters of Bodrum, Turkey. The seaside town was bustling with summer activity and was well known for its gorgeous beaches and lively tourism. A well-known program that drew families from all over the area was the Bodrum Ocean Swim School. It was one of the many attractions in the area. A group of young swimmers in brightly colored wetsuits splashed and laughed that day under the watchful eye of their instructors, while their parents watched from the sandy shore. Nobody foresaw how quickly the calm scene would change to one of unspeakable horror. Sem Akdil, 32, was the instructor for the swim class held in a special training area off Kargi Beach. This area of the Aegean Sea offered calm, shallow waters, making it ideal for children to learn to swim in the open ocean. A former competitive swimmer known for his skill and caution, Sem had been running the program for nearly 10 years without any issues. That day, his group consisted of 5 young swimmers, including 3 newcomers: Maya Kaftanoglu, 10, Efe Dural, 9, and Lara Isangul, 8. A floating buoy marked the edge of the training area as the group waded into deeper waters, about 150 meters offshore. Sem had instructed the kids to focus on their freestyle strokes under his careful watch. Their rhythmic splashing blended with the soft lapping of the waves, and the glistening water gave no signs of danger below the surface. Unknown to anyone, a 14-foot great white shark had entered the area. Rare but not unheard of in this region of the Mediterranean, great white sharks are particularly active in summer when their migratory patterns bring them closer to the coast. Experts later speculated that the shark may have accidentally entered the shallow waters of Kargi Beach while pursuing its main prey, a school of fish or seals. The attack came without warning. Witnesses on the shore reported a sudden and violent disturbance in the water. Maya, the furthest member of the group, was the first target. She was practicing her strokes when the shark dragged her beneath the surface with terrifying force, her small frame cutting through the water. All that remained visible was a frothy swirl of blood where her bright yellow swim cap had vanished. The other children froze in disbelief. Realizing something was seriously wrong, Sem swam toward Maya's last known location. Before he could reach her, the shark surfaced again, turning toward the remaining swimmers and slicing through the water with its massive dorsal fin. Panic spread as the children scrambled to swim back to the buoy. Next, the shark attacked Efe, the second closest swimmer. Its jaws clamped around his torso, pulling him under with a swift lunge. A red stain spread in the water, muffling his screams. Lara, the smallest and youngest member of the group, was paralyzed with fear. Clutching the metal chain of the buoy with white-knuckled hands, she clung on for dear life. Just as the shark delivered its final blow, Sem reached Lara. The shark broke the surface, seizing her in its jaws and knocking Sem away. As the creature dragged her beneath the waves, the buoy tipped violently and its chain rattled. Lifeguards and beachgoers had noticed the commotion by now. Parents rushed into the water in helpless desperation, screaming from the shore. A rescue boat was dispatched, but it would take several agonizing minutes to reach the scene. Sem, still clinging to the buoy and injured but alive, scanned the blood-stained water for the children. There was no sign of them. Only silence and horror remained after the shark vanished. When the rescue crew arrived, they found Sem in a daze, his face pale and his wetsuit torn. Divers searched the area but found no sign of the shark or the children. Though the attack lasted less than 10 minutes, the community was forever changed. Local authorities immediately closed the beach, erecting barriers and warning signs. Marine biologists called in to examine the attack called it extremely rare but not unprecedented. According to shark behavior expert Dr. Sevda Alkan, the shark likely mistook the children for seals, its typical prey. The shark's hunting instincts may have been triggered by the erratic splashing and brightly colored swim caps. The families of Lara, Efe, and Maya were devastated. A week later, hundreds of community members attended a memorial service at the beach, placing candles and flowers near the water's edge. Sem Akdil, hailed as a hero for his efforts, battled trauma and guilt. Unable to return to the site of the tragedy, he eventually left his job at the swim school. The incident sparked a heated debate over ocean swim safety, particularly for children. Some argued that swim lessons should be restricted to pools or enclosed lagoons, while others emphasized the rarity of such attacks and the ocean's importance to coastal communities' way of life. In the months that followed, the Turkish government implemented additional safety measures, including enhanced shark surveillance and the installation of underwater barriers at popular swimming spots. Yet the memory of that day loomed over Bodrum like a dark cloud. No safety measure could replace the loss felt by the families of Maya, Ife, and Lara. Their names were inscribed on a plaque at the swim school, a somber reminder of life's fragility and the unpredictable power of nature. As for the great white shark, it was never seen again. Some theories suggested it returned to deeper waters to follow its instincts without human interference, while others believed it was a rogue predator, confused or starving. Regardless, the community was left scarred by its brief but devastating presence, a terrifying reminder of the dangers lurking in even the most tranquil seas. The waters off Kargi Beach remain both beautiful and foreboding, serving as a reminder that the ocean is a place where people are merely guests. Experiences with marine life were common in Byron Bay, Australia, which is renowned for its immaculate beaches, azure waters, and rich surf culture. Due to the promise of flawless waves, the charming seaside town was teeming with both locals and visitors in February 2024. But hidden beneath its shimmering surface was a menacing presence that could transform a calm morning into a terrifying scene. Born in Coolangatta, Queensland, Jack Reynolds was a 32-year-old experienced surfer who had spent most of his life riding waves along Australia's coasts. One of his favorite places was Byron Bay, where the sea seemed to be teeming with life. Because the weather reports promised clean swells, Jack had gotten up early that morning. He paddled out with a few other surfers as the sun had just begun to rise, bathing the water in a golden glow. There were very few people observing from the shore, and the beach was comparatively quiet. One of them was Callum Drexler, a 19-year-old lifeguard trainee who had just begun working. Since recent reports of increased baitfish activity had sparked worries about shark sightings in the area, Callum had been keeping a careful eye on the water. Nobody anticipated what would happen next, though. As the ocean roared around him, Jack had just caught a solid wave and was riding it expertly. He was paddling back out to the lineup when, out of nowhere, a massive 12-foot bull shark surged up from the dark depths below. The shark's powerful jaws clamped onto his right leg in a sudden vicious attack. The shark thrashed violently, pulling him from his board and dragging him underwater. Almost immediately, the water around Jack turned red, a stark contrast to the glistening waves. Even though the pain was blinding, adrenaline took over. With his fists landing on the shark's snout and gills, Jack started punching and kicking it out of instinct for survival. His movements were purposeful but frantic, driven by a desperate desire to survive. The other surfers in the vicinity soon realized what was going on after hearing the commotion, which included Jack's muffled screams and the splashing of the struggle. One of them, 28-year-old surfer Adrian Ace Calloway, was known for his quick thinking. Ace and two other paddlers tried to scare the shark away from Jack by yelling and slapping the water. On shore, lifeguard trainee Callum Drexler had already grabbed his binoculars when he noticed unusual activity in the water. The sight of a shark attacking a man sent a chill through him. Callum immediately initiated an emergency response, radioing the senior lifeguard stationed farther down the beach. Despite severe injuries to his leg, Jack managed to break free from the shark's grip. Ace and the others arrived just in time to help Jack onto a surfboard. Despite his pale complexion, trembling, and the near excruciating pain, Jack was still conscious. The group paddled as quickly as they could back to shore, keeping a close watch on the surrounding water. When they reached the beach, the lifeguards were already there. Among them was Marcus Venn, a 42-year-old veteran lifeguard who took charge immediately. Callum and Marcus reassured Jack that help was on the way while applying a tourniquet to control the bleeding in his leg. Every second counted. The nearby town of Ballina sent out an air ambulance, which arrived in a matter of minutes. Jack was airlifted to Gold Coast University Hospital, where a group of surgeons awaited him after being carefully placed on a stretcher. His leg had significant tissue and muscle damage, indicating the severity of his injuries. To save his limb, Jack had several surgeries throughout the following few weeks, including reconstructive ones. Although he had survived, something that many in similar circumstances had not been fortunate enough to accomplish. The road to recovery would be lengthy and taxing. The attack had repercussions throughout the close-knit community of Byron Bay. The beach was temporarily closed by the local council, which also posted warning signs and sent out drone patrols to keep an eye on the waters. To gain a deeper understanding of the incident, marine biologists were consulted, including Dr. Ilara Finch, a shark behavior specialist from the University of Queensland. According to Dr. Finch, the recent increase in baitfish populations has brought predators like bull sharks closer to the coast, most likely as a result of warmer ocean currents. The tragic but inevitable event served as a reminder of the precarious equilibrium that existed between marine life and humans. For Jack Reynolds, the encounter changed his life. He had to endure months of physical therapy and psychological recovery after being a passionate surfer who spent hours chasing waves. Nevertheless, he maintained his sense of humor, which made him popular with friends and family. In interviews after the attack, Jack joked that he was retired from being shark bait and quipped about having the worst surf buddy in the world. Ace Calloway, the surfer who had saved Jack, became a local hero of sorts. He downplayed the praise, insisting that anyone in his position would have done the same. Lifeguard trainee Callum Drexler was commended for his quick actions, which likely contributed to Jack's survival. For even the most seasoned surfers, the incident served as a sobering reminder of the dangers of the ocean. The bull shark that attacked was never apprehended. Experts speculated that it had followed the baitfish that drew it to the area, and likely moved back to deeper waters after the incident. Byron Bay gradually reopened its beaches, though the attack left a lingering sense of caution among surfers and swimmers. Months later, Jack returned to Byron Bay, not to surf, but to express his gratitude to those who had saved his life. Approaching Ace, Callum, and Marcus with a noticeable limp but a strong spirit, he thanked them for their courage. The emotional encounter was a testament to the bonds formed in times of crisis. Although Jack's days of carving waves were over, he found comfort in other activities and channeled his energy into promoting ocean safety. He became an advocate for shark conservation, emphasizing the importance of understanding and protecting marine environments. The attack not only changed him, but also gave him a new mission. Over time, Byron Bay's vibrant rhythm returned, with tourists enjoying the sun and surfers chasing waves. Yet the beauty of the ocean was forever tinged with awe for those who remembered that fateful morning in February 2024, a reminder of the wild and unpredictable world beneath the surface. In Clearwater, Florida, the summer heat of 2007 was unbearable. Located along the Gulf of Mexico, Clearwater is known for its pristine beaches, azure waters, and abundant marine life. The area's reputation as a vacation haven drew both locals and visitors. The Gulf waters, teeming with wildlife that attracted fishermen and marine enthusiasts, were a mix of tranquility and danger. One sunny afternoon would mark a turning point in the life of 15-year-old Ethan Mitchell. In preparation for the upcoming state championships, Ethan, a talented competitive swimmer, had been training with his neighborhood swim team. Frequently complimenting his endurance and perseverance, his coaches described him as a born athlete destined for greatness. On the fateful day of the attack, the group decided to swim in open water to build endurance and adjust to erratic water conditions. Just south of Clearwater Beach, on Sand Key Beach, a long stretch of white sand, the team gathered. The water was ideal for their training session, inviting, serene, and warm. The sea breeze carried the laughter of beachgoers enjoying the summer day, and the sky was cloudless. But there was more to the Gulf of Mexico than meets the eye. Under its glistening exterior, predators were hiding, blending in perfectly with the ocean floor's shadows. In the area, shark attacks were uncommon, but sightings were frequent. Locals frequently downplayed the risks, saying that the likelihood of getting bitten by a shark was less likely than getting struck by lightning. On this specific day, however, Ethan's chances were not favorable. Gregory Henshaw, Ethan's coach, encouraged them to swim out to a buoy about 200 yards off the coast as Ethan and his teammates dove into the water. As they got ready for training, the group was having a great time splashing and joking. Constantly competitive, Ethan was among the first to reach the buoy. Unaware of the large, ominous movement beneath him, he trod water and waited for the others to catch up. Marine biologists later identified the 10-foot tiger shark that had been cruising the area. With its characteristic stripes and blunt nose, the shark was a powerful predator, known for its voracious appetite and aggressive tendencies. Schools of fish that were common in the Gulf at this time of year had probably lured it nearer to shore. For reasons no one could ever fully understand, the shark suddenly shifted its focus to Ethan in an abrupt and vicious attack. In an instant, the shark surged up and clamped its powerful jaws around Ethan's right leg. The force of the bite felt like being hit by a truck. Before he could even scream, Ethan was yanked underwater. The other swimmers, shocked by the disturbance, turned to see thrashing water and bubbles where Ethan had been just moments before. Greg Henshaw immediately acted, calling for the swimmers to come back to shore while blowing his whistle. When people realized what was happening, panic broke out like wildfire. Ethan surfaced momentarily, thrashing and gasping for air as the shark's hold tightened. The water was stained with blood, creating a crimson cloud that quickly spread and indicated how serious the situation was. Lifeguard Julian Carhart had been on the beach, keeping a close watch on the swimmers. As soon as he saw the commotion, he snatched up a flotation device and ran to the water. Even though Julian had experienced emergencies before, this was unlike anything he had ever seen. He observed the teenager straining to break free from the shark's hold as he swam in Ethan's direction. After years of athletic training, Ethan's instincts took over. He targeted the shark's delicate gills with his free leg as he twisted and kicked. The predator pulled underwater a second time after briefly releasing him. Julian got to Ethan just as the shark released its hold and started to circle, possibly determining whether to launch another attack. Julian grabbed the boy by the arms, fastened the flotation device around him, and started pulling him in the direction of the coast. Swimming back was excruciatingly slow. Ethan was losing blood rapidly and drifting in and out of consciousness. To help him out of the water, his teammates and other beachgoers formed a human chain. Others took over, applying pressure to Ethan's mangled leg in an attempt to stop the bleeding, while Julian, exhausted but determined, collapsed onto the sand. Frantic 911 calls from witnesses alerted paramedics, who arrived within minutes. After being rushed to Morton Plant Hospital, a team of surgeons worked tirelessly to save Ethan's life. Despite their best efforts, his leg was too severely damaged. The bite had irreparably harmed blood vessels, muscle, and bone. Doctors were forced to make the difficult decision to amputate Ethan's leg above the knee to save his life. Ethan's parents, Alan and Meredith Mitchell, were grateful their son had survived. Despite the overwhelming grief they felt, the attack shook the Clearwater community. In response, local authorities put up warning signs, deployed patrol boats to monitor the area, and temporarily closed the beach. The idea of a shark culling operation sparked heated debates among residents. Marine biologists, including Dr. Fiona Wexler of the Clearwater Marine Research Institute, urged caution, noting that tiger sharks play a vital role in the ecosystem, and culling could have unpredictable consequences. Ethan's recuperation was drawn out and difficult. His fortitude was put to the test during physical therapy sessions, but his spirit of competition remained unwavering. He eventually resumed swimming after learning how to walk with a prosthetic leg, but he would never compete again. The encounter significantly altered his perspective on life in the natural world. Ethan started advocating for shark conservation in the months after the attack. He collaborated with Dr. Wexler and other scientists to inform the public about sharks' significance in preserving the equilibrium of marine environments. Ethan frequently gave speeches at community gatherings and schools telling his story and highlighting how frightening his experience was, but also how it served as a reminder of how precarious our relationship with nature was. After a while, the beaches in Clearwater reopened, and most locals resumed as usual. However, the attack was a turning point for Ethan Mitchell. It put his fortitude and determination to the test and made him face unspeakable pain and terror. He came out of the experience as a survivor rather than a victim, and he used his voice to promote empathy and harmony with the animals that almost killed him. Known as the Great White Shark Capital of the World, the waters off Gansby, South Africa, became the site of a tragedy in August 2023 that would deeply affect the global diving community. Gansby, a small fishing village on the southern coast of South Africa, has long attracted adventurers and marine enthusiasts eager to explore its rich underwater ecosystems. The area has been a hotspot for great white shark activity due to its proximity to the infamous Dyer Island, home to large seal populations. Despite the inherent dangers, the waters here have fascinated researchers and adventurers for decades. A seasoned professional diver named Sarah Dalton set out on her tragic dive against this backdrop. 34-year-old Sarah was no stranger to the sea. Originating from New Zealand, she had dedicated a significant portion of her life to investigating some of the most hazardous marine habitats on the planet. She had established a reputation as one of the most dependable divers in the business, thanks to her knowledge and ability to remain composed under pressure. She participated in a small team that was doing a recreational reef dive close to Geyser Rock, which was only a few miles from Dyer Island on this particular trip. The dive site was well known for its unusual coral formations and varied marine life, but it was also dangerously close to great white shark hunting grounds. The group included Sarah, her friend and fellow diver Ethan Marlowe, and 2 other people: Leanna Griggs, a tourist who was excited to do her first deep water dive, and Jacques Botha, a local dive guide. Without any problem, the morning had begun. There was a light-hearted atmosphere as the group motored out to the dive site in Jacques' small charter boat. The sky was a clear, bright blue and the waters were calm. That day, visibility was predicted to be excellent, so there was no indication of the horror that would soon take place. The team started their journey down into the azure depths by late morning. Sarah took the lead in navigating the complex topography of the reef with ease and assurance. Leanna and Jacques trailed behind, with Ethan trailing closely behind. Schools of silverfish darted through the coral, and larger predators like groupers and stingrays glided silently in the distance, demonstrating how alive the reef was. The divers stopped to take in a particularly colorful area of the reef at about 40 feet below the surface. At that point, catastrophe struck, as Sarah strayed just a little bit ahead of the group. Suddenly, a huge shadow appeared out of the depths. The shark was a great white, later estimated to be 15 feet long. Approaching from below, its pale underside blended seamlessly with the glistening surface above. Experts would later hypothesize that the shark may have been attracted to the area by the seals frequenting Geyser Rock, or it may have mistaken Sarah's silhouette for prey. For whatever reason, the shark struck violently and without warning. It was an instantaneous attack. As the shark charged forward, its jaws terrifyingly clamped down on Sarah's right leg. The other divers couldn't see what was happening due to the cloud of blood that surged into the water from the impact. The shark began pulling Sarah into deeper water, and Ethan, who was closest to her, could only watch in horror. Sarah fought valiantly despite the confusion, using her free leg to kick at the shark and her dive knife to strike its muzzle. However, the predator was relentless, and in a matter of seconds she was dragged away from the group. Jacques reacted quickly, signaling the group to ascend. Ethan, on the other hand, hesitated, torn between the reality of the situation and his instinct to follow Sarah. He knew that pursuing her would likely result in another attack, and without the proper gear, he was powerless to stop the shark. The group finally surfaced, gasping for air, shaken by what had just happened. Chaos erupted back on the boat. Liana had been crying since her first dive had turned into a nightmare. In a panic, Jacques radioed local authorities, reporting the attack and urgently requesting help. A search and rescue operation was launched within the hour. The area was searched by boat, helicopters, and skilled divers, but neither Sarah nor the shark was found. The only evidence of the attack was a ripped, bloodied flipper discovered floating near the reef. The diving community was shaken by the incident. Sarah Dalton, a seasoned diver, had been taken by a predator she knew all too well. Her disappearance sparked a heated discussion on diving safety in shark-infested waters. Shark specialists and marine biologists speculated that the attack was likely a case of misidentification. Great white sharks, experts explained, often use their keen vision and the shape of potential prey to identify targets. In an area like Gansbai, teeming with prey, a diver in a wetsuit could easily be mistaken for a seal from below. In the weeks following the attack, South African maritime authorities introduced new safety regulations for local divers. These measures included restrictions on diving in areas with high shark activity, increased supervision during dives, and mandatory use of shark deterrent equipment. While some praised these actions, others argued that they would not significantly reduce the risk of future attacks. Ultimately, the ocean continued to be a hazardous and uncertain environment that was beyond human control. The incidents of that day left Ethan Marlowe with a permanent scar. Later, when he was interviewed about the attack, he talked about how powerless he felt as he saw his friend vanish into the depths. He eventually stopped diving completely because of the guilt he felt about living when Sarah had not. Jacques Botha was also profoundly impacted. But he persisted in his career as a guide, determined to preserve Sarah's memory by encouraging safe diving techniques. The remains of Sarah Dalton were never found. She was left with only questions and a deep sense of loss after being claimed by the ocean. Her tale still acts as a sobering reminder of the dangers that come with investigating the natural world. It tells the story of the ocean's beauty and cruelty, where life is abundant, but peril lurks just below the surface. In October 2023, 35-year-old Sacramento software engineer Claire Foster decided to kayak along California's central coast on a warm, cloudless day. The scene was set in Morro Bay, a picturesque seaside town nestled between rocky hills and the vast Pacific Ocean. Morro Bay, known for its unique volcanic rock formations rising from the water, attracted kayakers, surfers, and nature enthusiasts. Once home to the Chumash people, the area boasted a rich history and had long been an important fishing hub. Beneath its tranquil beauty, however, the waters concealed an ecosystem teeming with marine predators, including the great white shark. Claire had carefully planned the outing. She took up kayaking years earlier as a way to unwind and had become an experienced paddler. On that Saturday, she rented a sleek red kayak and launched from the sandy beach near Morro Rock. The ocean was calm, with only mild waves gently lapping at the surface. Pelicans flew overhead while sea otters floated lazily nearby on their backs. On the surface, it seemed like the perfect day for an adventure. By early afternoon, Claire had paddled about 300 yards from the coast, passing the kelp forest that lined the shore. Here the water was colder, darker, and deeper. The Pacific spanned an infinite chasm beneath her kayak. Claire had no idea that this specific area of water was known to locals as the shark zone, where great whites of all sizes often fed. She also didn't know that October was the peak month for shark activity in the area when they moved closer to the coast to hunt. From the beach, a few tourists noticed Claire's small kayak bobbing in the water. One of them, Nolan Beck, a 62-year-old retired firefighter, had binoculars around his neck. He had been scanning the horizon for whales, but found himself aimlessly tracking the kayaker's route instead. Later, he would recall that the scene seemed peaceful at first. That tranquility was shattered around midday. Without warning, a great white shark, estimated to be 15 feet in length, struck the underside of Claire's kayak with tremendous force. The kayak was instantly flipped by the impact, sending her plunging into the icy water. Against the backdrop of the blue sea, the bright red kayak capsized, its underside visible to onlookers on the shore. Claire struggled for breath and rushed to the surface, attempting to hold onto the capsized kayak. The shark, however, wasn't done. It made one full circle around her before attacking again, this time charging straight at her. The shark struck her leg, pulling her under the surface. Its dorsal fin sliced through the water, sending screams from the beach, a terrifying reminder of nature's raw power. Still holding his binoculars, Nolan Beck described the scene as chaotic and horrifying. He and a few others on the beach quickly dialed 911 while some frantically waved for help from a nearby fishing boat. However, the boat was too far out to reach Claire in time. Meanwhile, as she fought to stay afloat, her blood stained the water around her. Once more, the shark attacked, dragging her completely under. She never reappeared. When rescue crews, including a Coast Guard ship and a lifeguard patrol boat, finally arrived, the area was eerily silent. Claire's kayak floated aimlessly in the waves, now partially submerged. Shortly after, her body was found, marked by bite marks. By the time paramedics attempted CPR on the boat, it was too late. Claire Foster was pronounced dead at the scene. Marine biologists later concluded that Claire was likely mistaken for a seal or sea lion, common prey in the region. The shark was identified as a juvenile great white. Dr. Lennox Hartwell, a shark expert at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, explained that such attacks, though rare, often result from mistaken identity. He explained that sharks rely on their instincts in murky waters, or during periods of high activity, which can sometimes lead to tragic encounters with humans. The attack sent shock waves through Morro Bay and beyond. Beaches along a 10-mile stretch of coast were quickly closed to swimmers and kayakers, marked by bright orange warning signs. Local officials held a press conference, urging caution and assuring the public that shark monitoring efforts would be increased. Drones were deployed to monitor the waters for shark activity, and researchers began tagging more great whites to gain a better understanding of their migration patterns. For the residents of Morro Bay, The incident became a grim reminder of the ocean's unpredictability. Many recalled the town's history of shark sightings and whispered about other close calls in previous years. The tragedy also sparked debate within the community. Some called for stricter regulations on water sports during peak shark season, while others argued that such measures would harm tourism and disrupt the natural balance of the ecosystem. Claire's family released a statement expressing their grief and thanking the rescue teams for their efforts. They described her as a vibrant, adventurous woman who loved the outdoors and had an unshakable passion for the ocean. Friends and colleagues mourned her loss, sharing stories of her kindness, humor, and curiosity. In the weeks following the attack, Nolan Beck found himself haunted by what he had witnessed. He stopped visiting the beach altogether, unable to shake the image of the shark's dorsal fin slicing through the water. He later told a local journalist that it changed the way one sees the ocean. It was beautiful, but it was not theirs, and sometimes they forgot that. The tragedy of Claire Foster became a cautionary tale for kayakers and ocean enthusiasts. While the chances of a shark attack remain statistically low, her story highlighted the risks of venturing into their domain. For the residents of Morro Bay, the ocean was no longer just a place of beauty and wonder. It had become a realm of danger, where the line between predator and prey could blur in an instant. On a warm July morning in 2023, the Calloway family thought that the serene Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, Hawaii, would be the perfect getaway. Ethan and Mira Calloway, along with their 10-year-old son Declan, had flown in from Colorado to celebrate Ethan's birthday. Waikiki, known for its pristine sands and vibrant marine life, had long been a favorite destination for both tourists and locals. However, beneath the idyllic surface, the island's tropical weather sometimes brought sudden, unanticipated dangers. The day began as expected. The Callaways set up their picnic under the shade of a palm tree, the sound of crashing waves blending with the laughter of beachgoers. Declan, a curious and energetic boy, darted back and forth between the ocean and the picnic spot, collecting seashells and splashing in the shallows. Occasionally, Ethan and Mira called him back for snacks or to reapply sunscreen, all while keeping a close watch. The family was unaware that poor visibility was caused by a storm that had churned the waters the previous evening. Typically known for its clear turquoise waves, Waikiki was now clouded with sediment, making it ideal for confusing marine predators. Although advisories had been issued by local authorities, many people, including the Callaways, were unaware of the warnings. Declan chased a small school of silvery fish that darted around his legs as he waded deeper into the surf, the sun rising higher above. Other kids were around, playing and laughing, their voices blending with the ocean's rhythm. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then a sudden ruckus. Ethan noticed a splash, more violent and sharp than the playful waves. A woman screamed nearby, and his eyes darted to the water. A thrashing shadow had replaced Declan. Ethan's mind raced to process what was happening as he ran toward the ocean in a panic. When Ethan reached the surf, he was horrified to see a huge, dark fin slicing through the water. Declan's small figure briefly resurfaced, his face a mask of terror, before being pulled under again. Fueled by pure adrenaline, Ethan dove into the waves and reached his son. He grabbed Declan's arm and pulled with all his strength, but the shark's grip on the boy's leg was unbreakable. As onlookers rushed to help, Mira stood frozen on the beach, her hands over her mouth in disbelief. No one dared enter the water, but some called emergency services while others shouted instructions to Ethan. A lifeguard, still yards away, rushed toward the scene with a rescue board. In a desperate turn, the shark released Declan and vanished into the dark depths. Heart racing, Ethan pulled his son to shore. The boy was pale, heavily bleeding, and had a deep wound on his leg. As the lifeguard arrived with a first aid kit, Mira collapsed beside them, holding Declan's hand and pleading for him to stay alive, while the lifeguard began performing cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but the damage was too severe. Despite their best efforts, Declan succumbed to his injuries on the way to the hospital. As word of the tragedy spread, the once lively beach fell silent. The Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources conducted an investigation, determining that the likely culprit was a 9-foot-long reef shark, a species not typically aggressive toward humans. Experts speculated that the shark, disoriented by the murky water, had mistaken Declan for prey. The community and beyond were shaken by the incident. Waikiki Beach, once a symbol of paradise, was now marked by the memory of an unspeakable loss. Authorities responded swiftly, implementing new safety measures, including clearer advisories about water conditions and increased patrols during high-risk periods. The pain was unbearable for Ethan and Mira. Declan, their only child, had been their lighthouse. Yet in their sorrow, they found a purpose. They established the Declan Calloway Foundation, dedicated to raising awareness about marine life conservation and promoting safer interactions between humans and the ocean. The foundation funded educational programs in schools emphasizing the importance of understanding and respecting the marine ecosystem. Ethan and Mira found comfort in the knowledge that their efforts could avert similar tragedies, even though their lives would never be the same. Their quest was motivated by their remembrance of Declan, his contagious laughter, insatiable curiosity, and love of the sea. The beach in Waikiki eventually returned to its regular rhythm. But for those reminded of the Calloway's tale, it became a sobering reminder of nature's unpredictability. The vastness and beauty of the ocean instilled in everyone who heard the story a deep sense of caution and respect. Despite losing their son, the Calloways channeled their sorrow into leaving a legacy that encouraged others to explore the sea's depths with caution and gratitude.